And thanks so much for coming on, Jen. Really appreciate it. How are you doing
Thank you.
today? How are you doing?
I'm not too bad. I survived last week's heat wave.
Yeah.
And I'm now sitting looking out at the window at lots of rain. So
Yeah.
very happy.
It's gone very, very rainy very, very quickly, hasn't it?
It was very needed.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those that are watching and those that don't know Jen, Jen is part of the Go-Wirral community, but she's also got her own massive, massive community on Instagram, and it's probably got like the most followers of anyone that I know. So you got a huge, huge kind of following online, haven't you? But do you want to just briefly like tell everyone who you are?
My name is Jen, and I am the owner of Wirral Flower Farm, and that started around about nearly 2 years ago now. I'm just in my second season, but my business started as an Instagram blog called Life on the Lot, which just followed growing journey.
Yeah, amazing. And I think that's how most people maybe who are watching this or maybe will listen to it or watch it on YouTube will know you from Life on the Lot, probably, won't they? And we're going to talk about that and like maybe the journey to Wirral Flower Farm. So like, did you start by growing tomatoes and chilies on your windowsill, or have I read that wrong?
No, that's
Is that right?
the God's honest. Yeah.
Right. So you started in 2009 and 2019. You're growing tomatoes and chilies, and now you've got a farm.
And now I've got a farm. Yeah, it sounds mad when you put it like
It does,
that,
doesn't it? That's why I say it like that, because it sounds surreal. Tell us how you get from growing tomatoes on a windowsill to having a farm.
So I started sort of growing food. That was sort of my aim. So I started growing like tomatoes and chilies on my kitchen windowsill. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I couldn't even mow the lawn at that point. It didn't have a dicky bed.
So you had no real interest in like gardening before that?
Zero experience.
No way. Okay.
At all. I was a complete novice. And I think that first year I grew tomatoes and chilies, and I don't think I got a single tomato or a single chili or pepper or whatever they were.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I was absolutely enamored with it. I was just amazed. I was like, look, I've created life. It's absolutely amazing. And then from there I started reading a little bit around, because my daughter was around 2 or 3 at that time, and I started reading around sort of what Brexit was going to do to sort of our food chains and things like that. And then I was sat in the garden shouting into the house to my husband, I've applied for an allotment, off the back of sort of that food instability. Thinking, oh, we're going to be years until we get this allotment. It's going to be absolutely years. So fast forward 6 months, which is actually quite a short time, or it was quite a short time to wait for an allotment.
Because this is pre-pandemic.
So this is pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
So this is now March 2020. I got the phone call and we got the keys to the allotment the week before national lockdown.
Unbelievable.
Which is just such serendipitous timing. It couldn't have been better, to be honest. So that gave us like obviously this huge chunk of time to work on the allotment. So I was furloughed from my other business, and I spent all day every day at the allotment with my little girl. You know, we were tanned. It was just unbelievable. And I basically just learned on the job. So when we picked up the allotment, it wasn't in the best of conditions. You know, if you've been around an allotment site and picked up an old allotment, you can imagine there's lots of rubbish there. There was lots of iron spikes sticking out of the ground, and it was overgrown and everything else. So we set about sort of clearing the allotment, and we added sheds and polytunnels and greenhouses. And that's where I really cut my teeth and learned how to grow, but I wasn't growing any flowers at all.
Okay, what were you growing then?
It was just vegetables. So it was tomatoes are my favourite vegetable to grow. I absolutely love growing tomatoes. But we were growing onions, potatoes, corn, absolutely all sorts. Courgettes. A really big tip: don't grow 8 courgette plants. It's a really bad idea.
What does that
And
mean? That's a gardening joke. Just remember.
it was a gardening joke, actually. Apologies. It just means you will end up with hundreds and hundreds of courgettes.
Yeah, yeah, you're not getting rid of them, are you? Oh, look at the pretty flowers on top of the courge. It's like, no, get those courgettes away from me.
Yeah.
There's too many of them.
Um, I grew like 30 turnips. I
Yeah.
was like, nobody in our house will eat a turnip. Like, why have I done that? But anyway, I was growing it because I could. I was learning. I've just loved being able to grow everything. It was amazing. But then obviously I wanted to be as organic as possible in terms of my growing, which I love the people on the allotment, loads and loads of old boys down there. And they were sort of laughing at me in terms of, because I wanted to grow organic, and they're just spraying the Roundup everywhere. And we have a good old laugh about it, about our differences. It's all very good natured, and they've taught me an awful lot, to be honest. I do owe a lot of my knowledge to them, to those people, because they were such experienced gardeners. So I was trying to grow as organically as possible and started looking at things like companion planting. So when you're planting sort of sacrificial plants next to a plant that you want to keep. So the pests will go after the sacrificial plant and leave the plant that you want alone, basically. And that's where the flowers started coming in. So I started planting sort of some companion plants, like things like marigolds with tomatoes. They're supposed to bring out the flavour, all of that type of stuff. And then I started to research a little bit more around flowers and started to find this big sort of Instagram movement on flowers, and found an account called Florette, her name's Erin Benefazine, and she's a flower farmer in the Pacific Northwest in America. Which has a very similar climate.
I was going to
to
say
us,
it's pretty similar, isn't it? That coast.
Yeah. So it's very helpful. And she's like sort of the OG of flower farmers. She's insane, and that's when I sort of realised, oh, this is what flowers are supposed to look like. They've never really interested me before, but if I can grow stuff that looks like this,
right,
I'm really interested.
So that little thing that you got there, like you were seeing how flowers, what they should look like. What does that mean to
like
someone who doesn't understand?
You look at like petrol station flowers, and they look crap, don't they? Sorry, I don't know.
Do they? Tell me the difference, do they?
They look absolutely crap, don't they? They're not inspiring.
Okay.
You know, all of that type of stuff. There's no colour, there's no smell, they're just poor imitations of flowers. And then you look at her account and you're like, oh my God, these are some of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Like, they're massive, they've got loads of colours, you know, she grows things with loads of scent and all of that type of stuff. So it sort of started to change my perception of flowers, really. So it started to creep in, and more flowers started to find their way onto the allotment. As well, we had sort of a massive allotment, and as I say, I'm growing like 30 turnips, which we don't need. And I was growing way too much food, basically, for like 2.5 of us at that point. So I had to fill the space with something. So flowers started to creep in quite a lot. And then we were at least on a 50-50 split by the time I decided to go onto the flower farm. At least probably a little bit more flowers.
Right.
And then started to do some farmers markets just as a little bit of a hobby.
And what were you selling? Were you selling flowers that you grow, that you were arranging?
Yeah.
Or,
Because I'd filled every house, every vase and surface in my house at that point. And somebody said to me, why don't you try and sell these? So started to do a few farmers markets.
Which you still do now, don't you?
I do, yeah. I love the markets. They're absolutely amazing. I love speaking to people. So that was sort of how it started. And then very serendipitously, my other business, there was a gap in my other business. I essentially got bought out of my day job. And my husband said, why don't you try something with the flowers? That's where your passion is. That's what you love doing. Why don't you try something different. This is your opportunity. This is your space. And then land is obviously, it's not easy to come by, especially in Wirral,
Yeah, that's
because
what I was
we
going to
are
say. Like where you are is pretty
quite
amazing.
urban.
Yeah.
So I went and knocked at Claremont's door and said, "Do you fancy a flower farm?" And they were really open to the idea and like, yeah, let's go for it. So I've been very lucky, just very lucky, very, very right time, right place. And that's it. That's sort of how it sort of evolved from there.
So it's evolved from like love of growing things at first, allotment, that I'm going to talk about like why that's quite important for people at the moment actually, and maybe why that's grown quite a lot. And I think it has grown since the
Yeah.
pandemic, hasn't it? And there's a lot of people that are like developing that, isn't there? And what do
Yeah.
you think it is that with like gardening or growing or just horticulture generally, that is, what is that resurgence about? Why do you think so many people are reconnecting with nature? What is it about growing? What is it about, yeah, just about tending to things and sowing things? Like what is that connection that people are finding in that?
I think it's a big question. It's a really big, but really great question. It's obviously no secret we live in quite a difficult, like political,
Mm,
social, economic environment at the
hmm
moment. And times are tough. Times are really, really tough. And when times are tough, I think it's quite natural for humans to start seeking out some sort of grounding and taking things back to basics and having that hitting that reset button essentially, because that's what we naturally would have done to survive as humans. So I think like on some level there's probably some sort of
like a subconscious level.
yeah, like a survival instinct sort of kicking in, but also as well it's quite strange because I have like a very strange relationship with social media in terms of everything sort of documented. But it feels like life is always very busy and we're constantly connected,
Hmm
constantly scrolling and comparing ourselves to each other and consuming content sort
hmm
of all of the time. And that information is just there for everyone.
hmm
And it feels like we go really fast. But gardening and horticulture is like the opposite of that. Like you can't get another polar opposite because like a seed you can't rush.
It's the opposite of instant gratification.
It is, yeah,
Yeah.
that's perfect. Yeah,
hmm
that is exactly what it is. You cannot get instant gratification. You have got to put the work in. You have got to put the time in, and nature doesn't care about anything
Yeah.
that is going on. She is large. She's in charge, Mother Nature. That's sort of what you get from gardening. It does make you slow down. It makes you work in collaboration with the seasons rather than against them. You can't sort of do something that isn't supposed to be there, if that makes
It
sense.
does.
So
Yeah.
I think that is my personal opinion in terms of why we're going back. I mean, there's lots of other sort of
Creativity,
political,
people who are
social,
creative. Do you think?
yeah, and creative, definitely. But
Mm.
I think we are going to seek something that we are naturally sort of looking for, that is missing from our lives. And I think that is a really great bridge to sort of get people back out into the open again.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's unreal to hear, actually. I see exactly what you're talking about with social media. What I wanted was to create an alternative to social media that's built on things, real things, not scrolling kind of like this, right? Well, what we're doing is we're having a conversation, and it's a long form conversation, it's longer than 50 seconds. But
Yeah,
we live in a world of 50-second conversations, don't we? Or maybe even 10 if we can't be bothered to wait for 50. So we'll scroll after 10. And we live in that world
absolutely.
of 10-second conversations. And I think like what I want to do long term with Go-Wirral is build a platform where long form conversation is respected in the same way that like a podcast would be, for people to get connected through a platform rather than divided by a platform, actually.
And that's originally what social media's
Yeah.
aims were
Yeah.
when it was first created.
It's been co-opted though, hasn't it? I think there's a lot of co-opting going on with social media, so it gets used for other reasons, doesn't it? I think Facebook was started to connect people. But now
Was, yeah.
I think it's used to, essentially divide people by what they think
Yeah.
about politics. And there's just enough going on, isn't there? And I just think like, well, people are going to go to Facebook for that, but then I'm hoping that in the future, people will go to something more local for something maybe more informational, something more productive, something more local, so
Yeah.
instead of involving ourselves in global politics and global politicians, actually let's focus on the negativity that's going on in the world. And I think that's the ideal of it. But it does lead to the next question actually, and I'm so glad that you're on here because you have got that massive platform. And I just think it's so interesting, isn't it? Because you've got the juxtaposition of what you do and how
Yeah.
disconnected that is. But then actually, you've got like a massive community on Instagram and a massive following. What do you think people connect with you most? Like, why do people follow your journey, do you think, online?
I don't know.
You must have an idea.
It's quite strange because I started the Instagram account because like you say, your mate who's probably got the allotment at the moment.
Yeah, very into
I
it.
didn't want my mates to know.
What?
I didn't want my mates to know.
Right.
I thought they'd think I was a bit of an idiot and
Yeah.
didn't want to bore them with like pictures of plants
Well, we
and
think he's a
all of
serial
it.
killer, so there is that.
There you go. Yeah, see, that's what the stigma we got.
Yeah.
So I sort of, and then I found like this sort of community on there
Hmm.
in terms of there was loads that I could learn from it, from other people. And I just started to document my journey. It was never meant to be anything more than a diary, if I'm totally honest,
Hmm.
because lots of people suggested that when you start an allotment, when you start a garden, to keep a diary of what happened.
Right.
So the next year when you go back, you can look and see, right, I've done this at this point and that worked and
Yeah.
all of that type of stuff. But I'm not very good with like keeping on top of things. Like
Hmm.
I'll start something and especially when it's like a diary or a notebook or something like that, and then I'll forget about it a week later. So this taking pictures of things seemed quite an apt way to do it
Yeah.
for
It's
me.
like it's your way of having a diary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that and it's exactly how it started. Um, so it started taking pictures of what we were doing and connecting with other allotmenteers and getting advice from them.
Hmm.
And so it was brilliant. It was like this little community. It was during lockdown as well.
Hmm.
So everybody was really helpful. There was lots and lots of things to talk about, to add, all of that type of stuff. And it just sort of grew a little bit from there. Loads of people like ask about the strategy behind it, but when I started, there was absolutely no strategy whatsoever. It was
Hmm.
just a hobby, literally a hobby that I was sort of into. And then all of a sudden, the following numbers just sort of kept going up. But what I see most that people love to see, especially from my account, even though the flowers are, in my opinion, the most photogenic things there, they love to see what I actually do,
Yeah.
like the sort of behind the scenes stuff, like
Yeah.
how I do stuff, processes, like what happens on the farm, what I'm going to do next, when I'm doing stuff, lots of sort of like how I collect water. That's always really
Hmm.
popular, water. Things like tools that I use.
Hmm.
Everyone loves a tool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
No pun
we want to
intended.
rob tools off each other, don't we? We want to find
Yeah.
what the best way of
What
doing
do you
something and rob
use
it.
to do that with and all of that type of
It's like cooking, isn't it? And then you see someone who can cook something, and you're like, I need to rob that.
yeah, that it's just like all of that type of stuff.
Hmm.
It's never actually the flowers,
Yeah.
which is quite frustrating because I'll post flowers and it won't do very well. I'm like, but these are so beautiful. And then I post me on a grubby morning, sort of digging something up, and it
Yeah.
goes viral, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
for God's sake.
They want to see you doing the grunt work, don't they?
They do.
You want to see the grunt work? Yeah, but that's really interesting actually. We'll talk in a minute about the other things that you do, all your workshops and that. And I just think like I'd love to get like a content creator involved with one just to see, just so people can see what you do at these workshops, and then try and get more people to go to them. Yeah, because I think people are just interested in what you do, aren't they? There's like a massive movement around these fellas who sell jacket potatoes, and they just have like a camera on their heads, and they just serve,
Yeah,
yeah, and they just serve people jacket potato, and they, they'll live stream, and there'll just be like millions of people watching them serve jacket potatoes.
it's crazy, isn't it? I think it's just like that sort of human nature of voyeurism. You just want to be
Nosiness.
nosy. Yeah,
Yeah,
just want to be nosy. I want to be involved. I want to feel like I'm part of the team,
yeah,
but I don't actually want to get mud on me.
yeah. Do you do like a lot of it, because obviously you're so much into like the organic side and sustainability and stuff that I don't really know too much about? Do you do a lot of content on that side of things, like the importance of sustainable growing? And
I do, yeah, I definitely post quite a little bit about that. I mean, that is a huge subject.
tell me a little bit, just give whoever's listening just a little taste of like what that is and how it's different than like maybe just like Florida, just tell everyone like what it is.
So I would never class myself as a florist. I'm definitely a grower.
Yeah.
That's where my strength lies. It's where my passion lies. So I'm the step before the florist. So I will grow the product that a florist would use, basically. So yeah, this is going to be a really nuanced one in terms of an answer, because it's
Nuance is good.
quite a big subject in terms of flowers and sustainability. And what I'll start like really, really simply is, due to sort of the rise of like globalization in like the 70s, and us having the ability to ship products around the world, and the rise of supermarkets, it moved us away from those local producers.
Yeah.
So back then in the 70s, 80% of the flowers that were used in this country were grown on British soil.
Okay.
Today, only 20% of the flowers used in a £2.2 billion industry is grown on British soil, which is huge.
That's crazy.
Huge. So that comes from other countries. So
it doesn't make any sense actually from like a hyper local point of view.
It doesn't. And it goes sort of back to that that disconnect with nature that we were talking sort of near the start, that we've got this disconnect. It sort of leads back into that, because lots of people don't know when the seasons of flowers are, because they're available all the time.
Of course.
But they're available all the time at a massive cost.
Yeah.
Like lots of the flowers, like lots of roses you see, are grown in Kenya.
Okay.
So they're not sort of grown by the Dutch. They then fly into the Dutch market, and then they get shipped around the world from there. So the flowers that you are probably getting could be up to about 2 weeks old.
Yeah.
By the time they reach your hands, either in a supermarket or from a florist. So those flowers have got to be bred to be able to be shipped. And the people who are obviously growing them, they're growing them under stress,
poor
conditions, very, very, very poor conditions. And they're using lots of different chemicals, which is the chemicals are quite scary. So the chemicals that they are using to grow, I, as a farmer in the UK, I am not legally allowed to use
yeah,
on my farm.
because they're dangerous.
Yeah, because they are that dangerous.
But you can do it over there and then import them over here, and then we can buy them.
But they were shipping the chemicals right back in on those flowers. And I think it was in 2024, the French government paid compensation to a florist whose little girl passed away from cancer complications due to the chemicals that she was using within her wear, which is terrible. A small little girl, that was the Pesticides Victims Compensation Fund. And that's absolutely terrifying. And the amount of people that, that wouldn't even know that, who are working with.
There's no education around this, is there?
There's no,
Yeah. But it was just like, as someone who's, you buy flowers for like Mother's Day or for Valentine's Day or whatever, it was just really interesting to hear this backstory of what's going on in the world right now. and then how really, unless you are involved in the world of flower farming organically in England, you're not going to hear
Absolutely.
this. So that's
Yeah.
exactly why I wanted to talk to you and about this a little bit today, just to give people like that awareness around, like, so say you're a florist in Wirral,
Yeah.
on the Wirral, where are you getting your flowers from? And it's kind of like that thing, isn't it, of now you know this, you must be
Yeah.
thinking to yourself, well, actually, what's the alternative? I can go local and go to
Yeah.
someone who's growing them themselves here.
And I'm not sort of a purist in that, in terms of I would never expect a bride who gets married in January to walk down the aisle with some sticks.
Yeah. Surely there's something that grows in January, though, isn't there?
There's not
Not
not an
not much.
awful lot, but there are ways around it.
Yeah.
Um, but the more you're able to limit contact with that type of stuff, you're doing better for yourself, better for the environment, better for your customers, all of that type of stuff. There's lots of benefits to it. And you can tell your customers, you're getting a much more premium product because you know exactly where it's come from.
Yeah.
You know exactly how it's grown. Like one of my customers who makes cakes and puts flowers on a cakes, will recommend to use flowers from myself because, if you're putting flowers next to some imported flowers with all these chemicals on next to
Yeah.
something you're going to actually eat,
Yeah.
can be quite
Yeah. People
quite
don't.
sort of,
People just don't
yeah,
think about this stuff.
you just wouldn't think. You
That's
just
right.
wouldn't think. But like the carbon footprint on flowers is sort of is absolutely massive. So that's a huge one to look out for as well, because we have loads of information about food. There's lots of
Yeah.
things about food, but there's not that much about flowers. I think it's a bunch of flowers, a 9-stem bunch of flowers, and like 3 roses, 3 lilies, and 3 gypsophila can have a bigger carbon footprint than a Christmas dinner for 6 with all the trimmings.
And that's just because of where it's been before it gets.
Where it's been, how it's been grown.
Yeah.
Because if it's grown out of season, the chemicals that are used for it, because if it needs heat and light to grow it, all of that type of stuff. So, and then it's shipped here, there, and everywhere. So yeah, it just stacks up, and it's until you put it with a comparable, you never sort of
think about it. There needs to be some kind of awareness or education about it, because I think, as you said, it's a £2.2 billion industry.
Yeah.
Is that in
What can we do for our economy?
Yeah, this is what I mean. So it's like we do have options here. We just choose the easy choice.
Yeah.
We choose the easy choice instead of doing what the right thing is, And I just think that the way to change that behaviour change is education, really.
And to shop local.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So florists on the Wirral, they really need to be tapping you up. So do you wholesale, Jen? You do, don't you?
Yes, do wholesale. So I'm still in the infancy stages of wholesale this year, which is really exciting. And I absolutely love, because I love it when a florist tags me with stuff that they've used. So I think it was Heather Feather from Heswell.
Yeah, I think she's on the app, actually. She's not on the app as a business, but I think she's there. She's around. She's around.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So she tagged me in the most beautiful bridal bouquet, which she used loads of different stems in, some of them from herself, and it just looked amazing. And that's ingredients that she would never have been able to get imported, because some flowers you just can't get imported.
Tell me,
travel.
That's what I want to ask you. What is it that we do that you can't import in? So what do you get if you stay local?
Sweet peas, dahlias, and there's loads of quirky little bits that I'll have sort of dotted around the farm that you would you'd never see at a wholesaler, which will really make that sort of floristry sort of stand out. So I always encourage my florists to come during the week. Feel free to come and have a look around the farm, see what's there, and all of that type of stuff, and then they can shop on the website as well.
So with you, if I'm a florist and I work with you, I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting all the goodwill, all the good karma. I'm getting British flowers. I know where they're grown. It's better for the environment. It's better for the community. It's better for you. So it's better for them because actually you've got a
Absolutely.
massive
Yeah.
profile anyway. So tagging you is just helpful for them as much as it's probably more helpful for them than for you. So
Definitely not. No, I
all of
wouldn't
that
say
stuff. But what I'm saying is there's loads of benefits, isn't there, of doing that,
there
of
is. Yeah.
making that small behavior change. And it's just about people seeing the benefits of like the decision making, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And hopefully
As I grow
conversations like
as a
this
flower
help.
farm as well,
Say that again.
as I grow as a flower farm as well, like we'll start to have that more availability
Yeah.
and all of that type of stuff as well. Because we're still obviously like 2 years
Yeah.
for the size that I grow on is still very, very juvenile. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully we'll be increasing that like sort of stock levels and things as we go forward.
Yeah, good, because I want to talk about the future. So obviously life on the lot and kind of Wirral Flower Farm, it's much more really than just buying flowers because you do workshops, you do pick your own, the
Yeah.
events that you do.
Yeah, so we do workshops, so like hand-tie bouquets, wedding flowers for beginners, wreath workshops, sort of autumn, Christmas, all of that type of stuff. So if you want to come and learn about flowers, how to arrange flowers, how to pick flowers, then that's sort of what you want to sort of zone in on. I do seed sowing workshops, growing workshops.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to learn a little bit more about that, then you can come and learn sort of the growing aspect of things. We do pick your own most Sundays as well at the farm, 12
So
to
people can
4.
just turn up.
Turn up and come and pick their own flowers. It was exceptionally busy on Sunday. It was amazing to see so many people.
Do you think that's because they Go-Wirral post?
Maybe,
Who knows?
maybe.
Who knows, mate?
Who knows? But yeah, it was really busy, so that was amazing. And
Yeah.
just seeing sort of people connecting with it, like I've just had my daughter's brownie unit at the farm, so I spent the evening basically digging up bugs with lots of 8-year-olds, which
Yeah.
they thoroughly enjoyed. So there's lots of sort of community aspects that I want to sort of introduce into the farm.
Absolutely, because there is that educational element, isn't there, of like educating people when they're younger about this, like what you've just been talking about. It's a perfect kind of
Yeah,
opportunity,
definitely.
isn't it?
This is one of the jobs that, AI cannot take away from us.
Yeah.
It's one of the industries that is gonna, be hopefully booming in the next couple of years because a human cannot be replaced to do this. I mean, you probably can to some extent, but it's always going to need some human intervention.
Absolutely.
And one of my dreams for Wirral Flower Farm over the next couple of years as we get a bit more established is to set up a horticultural training school, especially for those who wouldn't have access to like a regular sort of route of work, basically, because horticulture lends itself so beautifully to people with any sort of additional needs. But I want them to have something tangible so they could go out and gain like proper employment. So I'm hopefully that will be sort of the future of Wirral Flower Farm once we're sort of established and we can get people into work.
So what else is in the future for you then? So in terms of like the land that you've got, you're looking at like expanding. What's the plan?
So we've still got I think just over half the field to cultivate. And so we've still got a lot to play with in terms of getting that farm bigger and more productive. It's already very productive, but there's still an awful lot of scope to work with because we've currently cultivated about 1 acre and the field's just over 3 acres. So there's still a huge amount to play with. But yeah, I'm currently only one person and I need my bones. So yeah, it's still a slow process. I still want to do lots and lots in terms of the soil. The soil is great soil, really good soil, but we want to make it better because we want to be able to do less work and we want to do more with less. But also as well, we've come off the back of a massive heat wave in June. So, we've had 3 days of broken records in this country consecutively. So we've got to start looking at that soil as future-proofing it, basically.
Okay.
So things like it isn't getting hot, it's got better structure, so it holds and maintains water better. So we don't have to rely on as much water, and it absorbs as much when we do get like a really big burst of rain. It will absorb as much as possible and then keep that there, and keeping the sun off it, different ways of planting. So there's lots of sort of climate aspects that we need to start getting right as well. So yeah, there's lots to be done on sort of that side of things as well.
Let's look at quickfire. First of all, what's your favourite flower of all flowers?
The flower that gives me the least grief that year.
Right, what is that?
This year, it's been scabious.
What? Say it again.
A scabious. My
Scabious.
scabious have grown beautifully this year.
It sounds very Harry Potter as well, the scabious.
It does, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So that gives you the least grief. It takes the least tendon, is that right?
Yeah, it will just grow without my sort of intervention.
Very
it's
good.
Happy. It's not
needy.
It's happy. It's doing its thing.
Yeah.
If it's causing me problems, then it's not my friend.
Yeah. So it's like the less needy, the better.
Yeah.
Very good. Most underrated flower. Doesn't get the love. Sunflower.
Doesn't get the love. No, I think sunflowers are so really popular. Really popular.
I thought people took them.
I would say something that is not very well known, but when like my pick is on Sunday, it literally clears a whole bed of it. It's called corn cockle.
Corn cockle.
Yeah.
Again, it's like very Harry Potter, isn't it? But like, what's with all the Harry Potter flowers you're growing?
Probably all the Latin. It's very like a sort of very daisy, white and very like pink flower. Someone said, "Oh, it's like a mermaid would have it in the hair," and very, very beautiful, but not very commonly grown in gardens.
Does it smell nice?
It doesn't have much of a smell, actually.
Okay. It's just looking good.
It's just looking good, yeah.
Very good. Okay, what's the best time of the year on the farm?
Oh, great question. Probably autumn. Like the colour sort of changes, the colour of the flower changes as we get decreased sunlight. Like they go all really sort of vibrant. There's actually loads of flowers in like September, late September. The flowers are so beautiful. And we switch up doing like workshops into autumn wreaths. So we're doing like mixes of fresh stuff and dried stuff, so it gives loads of texture and just it looks amazing. Yeah,
nice. And I love like a Halloween kind of wreath as well, kind of orange, burnt orange type of vibes.
It's a vibe.
It's nice. That's good. Yeah, you've sold that to me there. One flower that anyone, even me, could grow. So like, I can grow this. I can have a go and it'll work.
Poppies, yeah. Chuck them in, they'll grow, and they'll keep growing forever then.
Are they a type of weed?
Any plant is a weed.
See, we're learning.
In the wrong place.
Right.
Yeah. Every plant is a weed. If you don't want that plant there, a weed is just a plant in the wrong place.
It's education. I'm learning a lot. Tea or coffee while gardening? Or do you just drink water? I
do tend to drink water mainly because I always need to go to the loo.
It's the tea, isn't it?
If I drink tea, but I am a tea drinker. Yeah,
it's the garden and the tea. It just seems synonymous, doesn't it? There's something about gardening and tea that seems. I'm not a tea drinker, but if I would garden, I would drink tea.
But it's also very hot as well at the minute, so you don't really want a hot drink.
Yeah.
That's me anyway.
So, last question before we tell people where we can find you. If the Wirral was to have a flower that was like either like synonymous with it, or a flower that the Wirral grows very well, or grows well in the Wirral or on the Wirral, so many on the Wirrals here, but what would that flower be?
We've got loads of clay soil in Wirral, so lots of things grow pretty well because clay soil has lots and lots of moisture and lots of nutrients. There's not a whole lot you can't grow. We've got a great climate here.
Good.
But I think one flower that is probably quite synonymous with Wirral is a Port Sunlight rose.
Wow. I did not know that.
Did we not know? Yeah, there's
No.
a Port Sunlight rose.
There's a
By
Port
David
Sunlight rose.
There's a Port Sunlight rose. So a rose that has been bred and is named after Port Sunlight.
Yeah, it's pretty boss, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do we not need some kind of t-shirt or something?
Probably, yeah.
No.
I mean, yeah, it's by David Austin as well, who do just the best roses.
Right.
They're a family who have grown roses for hundreds and hundreds of years. I think you can buy it in Port Sunlight Garden Centre.
Wow.
I mean, it'd be silly if you did. But yeah, the Port Sunlight rose.
Very good answer. Never knew it. I'm learning loads today. Okay, so Jen, thank you so much for taking the time. So cheers for staying with us. Where do people find you? Obviously, you can be found on the Go-Wirral app, of course. But where else can you be found?
I'm on Instagram and Facebook as Life on the Lot, and my website, Wirral Flower Farm, and you can find me I'm in the fields of Claremont Farm in Bebington.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for educating us. Thank you for doing everything that you're doing for the Wirral. I think, one of the big takeaways for me today is if people are florists, just go and get some flowers from you.
Thanks, Sean.
All right, then. Take it easy. And you'll be able to find it on Spotify and YouTube as well, okay?
Okay.
Nice one. Cheers, Jen. Bye.